On the world's largest island lies a realm of ice and mystery. Greenland, a name that evokes images of lush greenery, is in fact covered by an ice sheet up to 3 kilometers in thickness. Beneath this ice sheet, an entire world has remained hidden for millennia. What secrets lie beneath the ice of Greenland? Today we embark on a journey to uncover buried landscapes, lost history, and untold mysteries under the ice, gradually piecing together a picture that scientists are only beginning to assemble. Are there truly massive canyons, unknown species, and hidden reserves of resources? Let's find out. To begin with, Greenland's sheer size is difficult to grasp. The island covers 1.34 million square miles, making it comparable in size to all of Western Europe, or 3 times the size of Texas. If Greenland were a sovereign state, it would rank among the largest countries on Earth by land area. However, despite its vast size, it is one of the least populated places in the world, home to just 56,000 people. Nearly all Greenlanders live in small coastal settlements clinging to the ice-free edges of the island. The reason for this becomes clear when you look from above. Around 80% of Greenland's landmass is covered by an ice sheet, leaving only a narrow strip of rocky coastline and fjords where people, plants, and animals can thrive. This geography has dictated where life can exist. The heart of Greenland is a high-altitude ice desert, where snow accumulates and never fully melts, compressing into ice over thousands of years. By contrast, the coastal regions feature steep mountains, deep fjords carved by glaciers, and in summer, occasional green valleys. Most towns, including the capital, Nuuk, are located along the southwestern coast, where the milder climate and ice-free waters allow for fishing and travel. There are no roads connecting these isolated settlements. Greenland's ice is simply too vast and impassable. Crossing the island means flying over endless white expanses or sailing along its iceberg-strewn shores. Despite its icy exterior, the island's name traces back to Viking explorer Eric the Red, who named it Greenland over 1,000 years ago to entice settlers. Yet, as we will see, this misleading name holds some truth. Greenland has not always been frozen. The island's colossal scale and its ice cover set the stage for the hidden landscapes and history waiting beneath. However, Greenland has not always been buried under an ocean of ice. Millions of years ago, during warmer eras, much of the island was free of ice and home to abundant plant and animal life. When Earth's climate cooled at the end of the Cenozoic era, glaciers began spreading across Greenland's highlands. The Great Greenland Ice Sheet, as we know it today, started forming about 2.5 to 3 million years ago, at the dawn of the Ice Ages. Throughout multiple glacial cycles, the ice sheet expanded and contracted. During particularly warm periods, it partially melted. With each winter, snowfall, and summer freeze, the ice grew thicker until it fused into the vast sheet that now covers 4/5 of the island. Ice cores drilled deep beneath the surface have revealed a detailed archive of Earth's climate history. By extracting cylinders of ancient ice, scientists can essentially read the planet's diary. Each layer was once an annual snowfall that was compacted and preserved over time. Tiny air bubbles trapped in the ice serve as time capsules of ancient atmospheres, revealing greenhouse gas levels from ages past. From Greenland's ice cores, researchers have pieced together dramatic climate shifts, such as the abrupt cooling of the Younger Dryas period 12,000 years ago, or the warmth of the medieval climate period 1,000 years ago. The oldest ice found in Greenland is about 1 million years old, showing that some remnants have persisted through multiple warm cycles. However, even older than the ice itself is what lies beneath it. In certain locations, scientists have discovered frozen soil and plant material that date back to a time when the surface of Greenland was not yet covered by ice. The history of the ice sheet is one of resilience and vulnerability. It has survived past warm periods, yet once it nearly disappeared. A striking discovery revealed fossilized plant fragments, twigs, and leaves buried beneath a mile of ice. Retrieved during an old U.S. Army Ice Core project, these fossils indicate that roughly 1 million years ago, Greenland's ice cover melted enough for a tundra ecosystem to emerge where only ice exists today. This ancient glimpse of a greener Greenland underscores the ice sheet's sensitivity to climate change. So, as we decipher the story recorded in the ice cores, one thing is certain: Greenland's ice has come and gone before, and it may do so again. But more on that later. What landscapes lay hidden beneath the ice as it grew, and what does this frozen subcontinent look like today? Greenland harbors a landscape as diverse as anywhere else on Earth, one that's been preserved in its initial state under an ice blanket. Modern radar and satellite imaging have allowed scientists to peer through the ice, and what they've discovered is astonishing. In the north of the island, researchers have found a colossal hidden canyon running beneath the ice. This subglacial canyon stretches at least 466 miles in length and plunges to depths of up to 875 yards, making it comparable in scale to the Grand Canyon in Arizona. Likely carved by an ancient river before the Ice Age, it's been buried beneath the ice for centuries, completely invisible from the surface. Thanks to radar, we can now imagine how water once flowed along its towering walls. A dramatic panorama now shrouded in complete darkness beneath a mile of ice. And this is only one piece of the discovery. Greenland's bedrock is dotted with mountain ranges and valleys, just as dramatic as those on ice-free lands. Some mountain peaks almost pierce the ice. Their summits appear as isolated nunataks, the name locals gave to rock formations that protrude above the ice sheet. Many other ridges remain completely buried, flattened by the weight of the ice above. The sheer mass of 2 million square miles of ice has also pressed down the central part of the landmass. In fact, much of Greenland's bedrock now lies below sea level because the weight of the ice has pushed it down, creating a hidden basin at the island's center. If the ice were to disappear today, Greenland, according to maps, would turn into an archipelago. Its coastal mountains and highlands would form islands surrounding a central depression that could be flooded by seawater. Beneath the ice, mysterious circular scars also mark the landscape. In 2018, researchers announced the discovery of an impact crater 19 miles in diameter buried under the ice in the northwest part of the island. Likely formed by a meteorite impact tens of thousands of years ago, this crater, named Hiawatha, has been preserved thanks to the ice covering it. In addition to craters and canyons, scientists have also discovered more than 50 subglacial lakes. These are land pockets where the ice base has melted, allowing water to accumulate in hidden reservoirs. While most of these lakes are relatively small, especially compared to the massive subglacial lakes of Antarctica, they reveal the dynamic processes still occurring beneath the frozen surface. The largest known subglacial lake in Greenland, detected using radar, lies about 875 yards beneath the ice and stretches for several miles. These water pockets appear and disappear under the influence of the ice sheet's weight and geothermal heat, which causes periodic thawing and refreezing. So it turns out that Greenland is far from being an endless frozen plain. Instead, it's a rugged, ancient land preserved like a time capsule. Rivers once flowed through its hidden landscapes, and perhaps life once thrived there. But it begs the question, could anything still be alive within or beneath this realm of ice? It would be easy to assume that no life could exist beneath an ice sheet several kilometers thick. However, scientists have found that even in such extreme conditions, life, or at least traces of past life, finds a way. The discovery of preserved plants remained beneath the ice at Camp Century in northwest Greenland, and it had researchers in awe. Twigs and leaves, likely from boreal shrubs or forest, were found in sediment beneath an ice core in astonishingly well-preserved condition. They tell a story of a time when the land that's now buried deep beneath the surface was open and vegetated. These ancient plants, possibly over 1 million years old, hint that Greenland's hidden world was once alive and green. As the ice sheet expanded, it entombed this ecosystem, freezing a moment of the distant past like a natural time capsule. But beneath the ice, it's not just ancient, long-dead life we can find. There are living organisms inhabiting this sunless realm. Microbial life has been discovered within and beneath the ice sheet. In isolated pockets at the base of the ice, microbes survive by consuming minerals and nutrients ground up by the glacier. Some bacteria have been extracted from subglacial samples and even from the deepest part of ice cores, remaining alive after tens of thousands of years in a frozen state. These microbes endure incredible hardships: no sunlight, scarce food, high pressure, and sub-zero temperatures. They survive in near dormancy or through chemosynthesis, a metabolic trick that allows them to derive energy from chemical reactions with rocks and sediments. When scientists melted samples of 120,000-year-old ice from nearly 1.5 miles deep, they found ultra-small bacteria springing back to life, proving that this frozen tomb still harbors vitality. In other words, Greenland's ice is not sterile, it contains its own extreme ecosystem of resilient microorganisms. In summer, dark patches of microorganisms can even be found on the surface of the ice sheet, thriving in meltwater pools or cryoconite holes, which are small depressions filled with dust and algae that absorb sunlight and melt into the ice. But could larger ecosystems exist in subglacial lakes, like the ones found beneath Antarctica? In Antarctica, scientists drilled into a subglacial lake and found microbes and tiny organisms that had been isolated for centuries. In volcanic regions of Antarctica, sub-ice geothermal caves have been discovered where mosses, fungi, and invertebrates thrive in warm pockets beneath the frozen surface. Greenland does not have known lava-heated caverns like those near Mount Erebus in Antarctica, but it does have geothermal hotspots. Based on this, it is possible that beneath the thick ice layer in certain regions where heat from Earth's interior creates subglacial meltwater, tiny ecosystems may exist, waiting to be discovered. For now, our knowledge of life beneath Greenland's glaciers comes mostly from samples of mud and ice. Every microbe or fragment of plant extracted from beneath the ice carries a message about past climates, survival in extreme conditions, and even the possibility of life in frozen worlds beyond Earth. When we examine these tiny life forms surviving beneath the ice, another reality becomes clear. Ice is not a static tomb. It moves and melts, and the hidden world beneath it is gradually revealing itself as climate change reshapes the planet. In recent decades, Greenland's frozen facade has begun to crack. Summer after summer, its ice sheet sheds an increasing portion of its mass, revealing what lies beneath and sending a stark warning to the world. Global warming has reached the Arctic faster than anywhere else on Earth. Average temperatures in Greenland are rising, and even in the highest, coldest parts of the ice sheet, surface melting occurs during exceptionally warm summers. In 2012 and 2019, satellite observations captured something astonishing. Meltwater on the summit of the ice sheet, more than 3,000 yards above sea level. Another unprecedented event occurred in 2021 when rain fell at the summit. All around the island, glaciers that end at the sea are thinning and accelerating, releasing colossal icebergs into the ocean. The ice sheet is responding to climate change, and the trend is unmistakable. Scientists measuring Greenland's ice loss report that the island is currently losing between 250 and 300 billion tons of ice per year. As the ice melts, the land hidden beneath it, ancient soil and rock, gradually emerge along the edges where glaciers have retreated. However, the world's attention is not on the exposed land, but on the sheer volume of released water. Greenland's melting is now one of the primary contributors to global sea level rise. Each year, its meltwater alone raises ocean levels by approximately 0.7 to 1 millimeter. This may seem insignificant, but it accumulates year after year, and the rate is increasing. Since 1993, the island's melting has raised sea levels by more than half an inch. And future projections are grim. Even under the most optimistic climate action scenarios, Greenland is expected to contribute at least several inches to sea level rise by 2100. Under high emission scenarios, it could raise the water level by up to 8 inches or more by the end of the century. If these numbers seem small, consider the long-term perspective. Greenland holds enough ice to raise global sea levels by approximately 24 feet if it were to melt entirely. That would reshape coastlines, submerge entire low-lying cities and countries. Complete thaw would likely take centuries, but scientists warn that this century we may reach a tipping point where further ice loss becomes irreversible. Already, warming oceans are undermining the island's glacier fronts from below, while dark, soot-covered ice absorbs far more sunlight from above, accelerating the melting process. Today, dramatic scenes of climate change on the island have become commonplace. Meltwater streams carve blue rivers across the ice's surface, and massive moulins channel this water to the base of the ice sheet, lubricating its flow. In 2010, researchers observed an entire lake disappearing overnight. The world Greenland is revealing as it thaws may hold valuable information and resources. However, this discovery comes at a steep cost. As the ice retreats, it sparks renewed interest in the economic opportunities that may lie beneath, fueling geopolitical intrigue. As Greenland's ice recedes and access expands, new revelations emerge. A treasure trove of natural resources and strategic advantages long hidden or inaccessible. The ancient rocks beneath the ice and along the coastlines of the island are known to contain valuable minerals. In the south, global interest has been drawn to deposits of rare earth elements essential for modern electronics and green technologies. One such deposit, Field, is considered one of the world's largest reserves of rare earth metals alongside uranium. Mining companies from countries like Australia and China have explored these prospects, planning open-pit mining in areas currently covered by ice or permafrost. Greenland's geology also contains zinc, iron, uranium, gold, and gemstones such as rubies. As the climate changes, the ice-free season is lengthening and permafrost is thawing. Under these conditions, mining, once prohibitively difficult, may become entirely feasible. Another hidden resource lies offshore, potential reserves of oil and natural gas beneath the seabed. The idea of Arctic drilling has been debated for decades. In previous years, several exploratory drilling projects, particularly off the west coast, suggested the presence of oil-bearing formations. However, harsh conditions and the island's remote location have so far prevented large-scale extraction. But here's an unexpected twist. In 2021, Greenland's government decided to halt new oil exploration, citing climate concerns and a commitment to environmental protection. This move demonstrated the foresight of Greenland's people, who weighed short-term economic gain against long-term environmental responsibility. However, the mere possibility of significant oil or gas reserves keeps geopolitical interest high. Major powers recognize the Arctic's strategic value, and Greenland, positioned between North America and Europe with access to the Arctic Ocean, is a coveted territory. Greenland's geopolitical significance is nothing new. During the Cold War, the United States built Thule Air Base in the island's northwest, a key strategic outpost for surveillance and missile defense. Moreover, beneath the ice at Camp Century in the 1960s, the U.S. military secretly experimented with nuclear-powered tunnels that could house missiles, a classified project known as Project Iceworm. While this plan was never fully realized and the base was abandoned, it served as an example of how Greenland's ice has long been a stage for superpower maneuvering. More recently, in 2019, the island made headlines again when the U.S. government expressed interest in purchasing it. The idea was quickly rejected by Greenland and Denmark, but it underscored the island's growing strategic importance. Other nations, including China, have also taken interest in Greenland through scientific stations, mining investments, and diplomatic engagements, moves some observers interpret as attempts to gain influence in the Arctic. Other global interests are driven by the fact that as Arctic sea ice shrinks, new shipping routes may pass along Greenland's shores, and the fishing industry could shift northward. An ice-free Arctic in summer could one day allow cargo ships to take a shortcut from Asia to Europe via the North Pole. Meanwhile, the presence of rare resources is comparable to a 21st century gold rush, though slower and more complex, with global powers and corporations carefully positioning themselves. All of this raises crucial questions. Who will benefit from these resources, and how should they be managed? Greenland's future is shaped not only by ice and geology, but also by the will of its people and the politics of sovereignty. Today, Greenland is an autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark. It has its own government and parliament, which handle most internal affairs, while Denmark controls defense and foreign policy in consultation with Greenlandic leaders. However, as the island's resources and strategic significance grow, many Greenlanders envision a future as a sovereign state, fully in control of its rich lands and waters. The question of when and how remains complex. Currently, Denmark provides substantial economic support through an annual block grant, which constitutes a significant portion of Greenland's budget. Achieving true independence would likely require Greenland to generate sufficient independent revenue to replace that support, possibly through mining, fishing, tourism, and other industries. Meanwhile, the world is watching closely. Greenland is often compared to Antarctica, but their situations are vastly different. Antarctica is governed by an international treaty that prohibits resource extraction and military activities, preserving it for science and peace. No one directly owns Antarctica. Greenland, on the other hand, is inhabited and has long been home to Inuit Greenlanders. It's governed by its own laws and agreements with Denmark. If the island chooses independence, it will become the steward of its vast environment and resources, free to negotiate treaties and business deals just like any other nation. This could pave the way for rapid development, or conversely, Greenland's government may choose strict conservation policies. The path they take will determine whether Greenland prioritizes resource exploitation or sustainable development. However, Greenland has already demonstrated a unique stance on global issues. By halting new oil exploration due to climate concerns, its authorities have signaled that they are not willing to pursue every economic opportunity at any cost. The island is also an active participant in Arctic councils and climate negotiations, emphasizing indigenous perspectives and the need to protect fragile Arctic ecosystems. Looking ahead, two scenarios emerge. One, where Greenland gains independence with the coming decades, using its growing industries and international partnerships to build a stable economy, or another, where it remains part of the Danish kingdom with even greater self-governance, continuing to benefit from Danish support while increasing local control. Either way, as the ice retreats and global interest in the Arctic rises, legal clarity on who governs Greenland's land and seabed and who may benefit from its resources will be crucial. Denmark, for example, is working with Greenland to extend its continental shelf in the Arctic Ocean under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. If approved, this move could grant rights to seabed resources far to the north, reaching as far as the North Pole. What will the island look like in the coming decades and centuries? For Greenland's 56,000 residents, the future remains uncertain. However, one thing is clear. Their children will see a land that is greener, more connected to the world, and still deeply infused with the spirit of the Arctic.